Hey everyone, this is Chris Lewis from Fox 47's Digital Newsroom. Really excited to be here with all of you today. We're going to be talking about some things that you need to be thinking about, especially as your kids go back to school, especially if you have college students. And Chris Berry is joining us today. As college students get ready to start another year, amid a global pandemic, families may be feeling more worried than usual, but there's still a number of things that you can do to calm some of those nerves. So Chris Berry is a local financial professional and certified elder law attorney. He is from the Castle Wealth Group, and he's here to join us to talk with us and kind of run through a quick checklist for college students and their families. Chris, thanks so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
So first and foremost, when you're talking to parents today, what are you telling them in regards to how this year is going to be unique for college students?
Well, this year's is unique for all of us. That's pretty darn obvious. But especially as kids are going back to school, there are certain things that we need to take into account. And the first thing is that things are changing every minute. Even my children, Ryan and Madison, they're 10 and 7. They went back to elementary school last week, and each day leading up to it, we're getting new communications from the superintendent, from the principal, from the teachers, and then every time the governor went on the news, we had to watch that as well. And even Michigan State, my alma mater, they recently decided to switch to remote courses this fall after announcing plans to have in-person learning. Now, there's some exceptions with that, especially the graduate classes. Law school, I think, is still in person. I actually attended MSU for law school. So my 3 years on campus are going to look very different than current students.
It definitely is going to look a lot different. And in regards to law school, I've heard that too, that there are some schools that are staying in person. There's some that are doing online, and that the ABA is actually allowing for a little more flexibility in regards to that some of the requirements they've had in the past. Now,
right.
what would you say are some of the tips that you would share to help students and families prepare for the new school year?
Sure. Yeah. So there's three big things to think about. And the first one, as a certified elder law attorney, and some people might not be familiar with that term, but an elder law attorney, think of estate planning as planning for what happens if you pass. Elder law is planning for what happens if you don't. And you might be thinking it's odd that I'd be talking about issues affecting college students. But in reality, once someone turns 18, legally they're an adult. And so the parents who are sending their kids off to school understand you don't have the same parental rights you did while they were younger. So there's a couple key legal documents that you should have for your children because they don't really care about this. This is more about the parents. Parents kind of dragging their kid in to get this done by the ear. The first thing is a financial power of attorney, and that's the document that appoints someone to make financial decisions. So if your college-age child were to be in an accident and need help paying the bills or something like that, you need to have that financial power of attorney. And then very important is having a medical power of attorney and also a HIPAA authorization. And the reason this is so important is it's like I had a colleague of mine, his daughter was over at Grand Valley in Grand Rapids, and she was in a car accident, injured, and he was not able to get any medical information on her because she didn't have this medical power of attorney. She didn't have the HIPAA release, which is the release of medical information. So the first thing is making sure that those basic disability documents are in place for those 18 to 25-year-olds. And this isn't anything they care about. It's really for you, the parent, to be able to take care of them if something were to happen. The second big thing, stay on top of debts. Okay. Understand that this is an odd year, obviously, but we need to be aware of current and future debts. I had sat down with an individual, a woman in her 60s, and she was still on the hook paying for her daughter's student loans 35 years later. So understand kind of the finance piece of it. Be able, especially if you're on the hook for those student loans. And one of the things we have at our website, castlewealthgroup.com, is a debt tracker. So making sure that the debt is that you're watching it. And then the third big tip is just keep up with the constant changes going on right now. So my kids started last week, and we're not quite sure how it's going to start. We're starting with a soft start. But again, that could change from a governor getting on the news. There could be an outbreak at the school. So it's constant communication, watching the news, and understand that anything that we're doing now, it's not written in pen, it's written in pencil, and being able to pivot with those things.
That's great tips. Now, I know that people are going to be coming into your office. They're going to be talking to you about all these things. You've gave some great tips right there. Do you have any other suggestions or tips for college students as they're starting the new year?
Well, one of the things is to consider financial aid. So even if you've already submitted through a FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, with this changing environment, you can appeal that and you can make changes to that potentially if you found that your financial condition has changed. Also, keeping an eye on what's happening in terms of the government. There's a chance that with a new stimulus package, there might be additional money coming to college students who maybe didn't receive a check in the spring. So again, it's just staying on top of these things. But the biggest thing is just keeping apprised of your financial future. And it's the difference between enjoying your golden years or struggling to get by.
You know, one of the things that you brought up was about parents taking out loans and and being able to support their kids. Now, what do you recommend in regards to that? And when you're looking at parent loans versus students taking loans themselves?
Really, I'm going to give you the frustrating answer of it depends. Every family is a little bit different. But what I stress is, first of all, the parent needs to make sure that they're going to be okay, that they're going to make it, that their retirement plan is set before they worry about college funding and that type of thing. It's kind of the idea of when you're flying, right? And the oxygen mask drop, you need to have your oxygen mask on first before you start helping anyone else. So I always want to make sure that that the retirement plan in place, then we can start worrying about paying for college and helping out there, because you don't want to be stuck in a position where now the kids are having to take care of the parents because they gave too much or they're on the hook too much.
And I'm guessing that that same answer would be the case for someone that doesn't have a college age student, but might have a young child, and looking at the future for college and their children's kind of future education, as well as looking at their retirement.
Right. When we're sitting down with clients, we're taking into account the whole picture. It's having a holistic plan. And it first starts with making sure that we have an income plan in retirement, making sure that our retirement is set. And then we start looking at some of the other things. Is it helping out the kids or the grandkids, putting into 529s, which are used for college education or education expenses? But again, it first starts with making sure that they have a good plan. And what I find is a lot of people, they don't really have a plan. They've accumulated a lot of wealth, but they don't have a preservation plan or a distribution plan or what to do with it in retirement.
Well, such great advice. I truly appreciate you sharing all of this, because college can be a confusing time for parents, even if they've gone to college, because college is different from the time that they were there. And it's also a confusing and exciting time for students as well. But the pieces that you've said here, especially one of the things that I pulled out was those important documents, because you think about a medical power of attorney, but not always a financial power of attorney. And so those are important things to keep in mind as well. So Chris Berry, if anyone is interested in learning more about the topics you've just talked about or talking to you further, how should they reach out?
Sure. Give us a call at 844-885-4200, or they can reach us on the web at castlewealthgroup.com.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing all of this. This has been great information, and I wish you all the best.
All right. Thank you so much.